It may not be the Österreich as it was for the 1978 F1 season, but having Spielberg back on the schedule is most certainly a happy moment for the drivers in this vintage series. Indeed, we are one step closer to being able to recreate the 16 rounds. But who will be the one to recreate Peterson's last Formula One win? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Robert O'Brien. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Since we won't be running the old fast version, which is no longer operable, let's head to our track guide to see what our drivers are up against. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Remus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and under trays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race. Well, Rob, this has been a popular one since it's joined the service. I've heard very few things from drivers with negative input to say about it.
It's a very nice track and it's a joy to have on the iRacing service. But for the Lotus 79s, they are going to have a little bit of a hard time. You know, we were looking at them during practice and they were sliding around a lot. And these cars aren't the easiest to control around this track. It is 9 turns, 2.6 miles or 4.3 kilometers. It does seem like a short track, but for these cars, it's going to be difficult, especially look at Remus, look at Rauch, and Wirth, and the last turn of the Red Bull Mobile. And these 3 corners are going to be the most difficult, I think, for these cars, especially trying not to run out too wide, getting a 1x or even a slowdown. I think everybody's going to keep it nice and straight today.
And you have to imagine if the modern F1 cars have problems with those curbs, I think these are going to be even more diabolical. But before we get to that, let's take a look at the championship, which is still led by Gernot Frische, despite not having a great race last week. That's because Nicola Cocci has not showed up in the last 2 rounds. He is not here as well again. But neither is Gernot. Oh, wait, no, actually, I take that back. Gernot is here today, so he will continue to be able to pull away from Gernot Frische. Millward really has been one of his main challengers, but he's also had a number of bad races this season, so he's got a lot of room to make up. The Turk is in 4th with a tie for P5 with Trangarade and Seppa, a good 95 points back. We have a team's championship as well. Rob, do you want to run us down that?
Yeah, the Al Bilad Williams Racing featuring the Turk and Banker with 166 points on a top row of first. In second will be the Warsteiner Arrows Racing team. Oh, that's a nice, good to see the Arrows back again with Cocci and Carini in second, just 6 points behind at 160. Renault Alf holding Fritsch and Moorland, just 18 points behind them. The Parmalat Racing team holding Seppa and Simpkins in 4th, just minus 20 points. And the Team Exis Lotus, you need to get up there, lads, with Reed and Henkel, just minus 39 at 135.
So, as we take a look at the race details, we are at round 8 out of 12, and they have an open setup in this series, so drivers will be able to tweak them to their liking. But if you are new to this series, if you'd like to run it, don't worry about that. The drivers are very friendly about sharing info. In fact, even the fastest guys will tend to share their setups. They have an incident limit, as we heard Rob talking about, going off track. 17x will get you a drive-through. 25 will be a drive-through penalty. 34 laps around the track today. As was mentioned, it is very short laps around here. And don't expect any pit stops, just like they tended not to do back in 1978, as well as Andy T is returning once again, only running a very partial season with a couple races that he's ducking in, and he's proving to be quite fast. This is bad news for Frecia, who really wants to try and get as many good points as he can, especially wants to try and get a victory, which, Rob, he still has not earned 7 rounds into this series.
He'll need to start putting it together, because it is getting to the crunch mode. If he doesn't get a win now, I imagine he probably won't get one within the next 3 rounds. So he'll just need to take it in hand and just say, all right, one of the better tracks probably for me to be able to do this at. Let's do it here and have a good next set of results to work off of. You know, that's sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of stuck in the mud, as it will. You know, if you don't do it now, when will you do it? You know.
Ooh, and Deturk just took the pole position. He is less than a tenth quicker than Andy T, who's just finishing his lap, as we ride on board with him now with the helmet cam as we come to the line. And he's been beat by Lino, who just took the pole as well. A 19.1 is going to be faster, and that will be pole for the number 2 car.
Very well done by Andy T, holding it together, coming through that very difficult final turn of Red Bull. And we see with Freach, can he make it do in the number 1 car? Coming up to the final 2 into Rent. Oh, you have to hug the inside as much as you can and then drift out, and then here we go, the big bumps of the Red Bull mobile. Does he make it through? I don't think it's going to be faster. No, it's not.
That was only his first lap, though. He's still got enough time to set another one, and it does seem that the second lap is the quicker of the 2 for the drivers today, despite relatively hot temperatures on the track surface. So it must take a bit to try and get these things up to speed. We're still waiting on a few quick names to put one down, including Trangrade, who missed his first lap with an off track. We see him there in the number 7 car. Seeing who is going to come to the line before him. Looks like nobody. He's going to be the next one through. So let's watch and see how he handles both Rent and the A1 ring corner.
And this camera angle is perfect to have a look at. And you can just see on this inside, he's aiming for that little mark there. And he just wants to hug it as much as he possibly can. Drifts out. And then another mark there on the Red Bull mobile. And just try not to hit the curb on your way in.
As he crosses, it is a 19.7. That'll at least put him into 5th. So not bad. Could have maybe had more. I wonder if he was a little cleaner on the first one. But we'll see as Gernot Frecia comes around for that second lap himself. This is going to be a critical one, as the number 1 car just keeps it within bounds. And once again does likewise through A1. Let's see if he can go faster than a 19.1. No, it's a 19.7, and it'll put him just ahead of Trangrade on the same row as that number 7 car. Last one across the line, Partanen improves to a 19.9. That'll be 7th place for him. Well, a fascinating grid there today, as once again, Frecia just does not like qualifying these days in this car. And you can see Andy T will be on the pole. Mikko Lino will be starting in 2nd, as Michael Deturk will be 3rd. Severi Seppa starts P4 as Gernot Frecia, our championship leader, has to start from 5th. Trangrade P6 for him, as Partanen starts from 7th. Paul Williams will be P8, and then it's Timothy Reed in 9th. Garcia rounding out your top 10.
Sebastian Morin in 11th. Fabio Suarez in 12th. 13th is going to be Nicholas Morelli. Keith Herner in 14th. Daniel Banker in 15th. Barry West 16th. In 17th is Javier Mosquera. 18th is Robert Plumley. 19th is Loic Barr and Kyle Townsend rounding out the rest of the grid.
20 cars racing today. There's the temperatures that we were talking about, 108 Fahrenheit and a little bit of wind, not a huge amount, but wonder if that'll affect any of these corners for drivers. 42 Celsius for those over on the metric system. Going to be fun to watch this one. Anytime we come to a track the series has never raced before, Robert, I'm always curious to see how it races and whether or not it causes issues.
It is going to be very interesting. As I said earlier in this broadcast, when we come to corners like Remus, Rauch, and the Red Bull Mobile, they're natural choke points in the racing circuit itself, especially that turn 2. They have to slow right down to about 75 kilometers an hour and get around as safely as they can. We've seen the modern F1 cars; they have a very hard time getting around there. With the Lotus 79s, it is going to be a huge challenge for these guys.
Without Millward and Kochi here today, this allows Frecia to try and make some points up, but don't forget about de Turk. He is a little bit behind, obviously. He's got a lot to make up from here, but he is still 4th in the points. So if he could beat out Frecia, he could find himself with some a good gain on that championship hunt as we wait for the last of the drivers to grid up. Just looking for the likes of Frecia, T, Hartonen, and Seppa. And we will be on our way for 34 laps around what was once the Österreich Ring is now the Red Bull Ring here in the mountains by Spielberg. T is going to be the last one to line up on the pole position. Last time he showed he was able to win at Road Atlanta. Is he going to do likewise again today? And he's certainly making everybody wait before we get running here as we wait patiently for that number 2 machine to put it on the pole position. No worries about these cars overheating, thankfully. And there he is. So the engines will now start to rev here for round 8 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. The lights are up. And the green flag is out. It's a poor start for de Turk there, but he is better on the second phase and starts to come back at Lino as they approach Lauda corner. Someone sailing up the outside. That was Trangarade, mighty on the brakes, so we got a spinner in the back. Otherwise, it's clean.
Yeah, Trangarade is trying to get past as much people as he can because he cannot afford to sit around and wait for the opportunity to happen to him. And as they come up to the second corner, that is going to be Mikko Lino and Michael de Turk fighting with each other, just trying to get past one another and trying to sail through. And they managed to actually navigate that corner very well, but up here, they're going to start battling once again. They don't have DRS, these cars. They can still make an absolute move on the inside, coming around Schlossgold. Does he stick it? He's just about.
He's still going to have to fight side by side. That's Lino to his outside. And unfortunately has to give up the ghost now as they come toward Vert. Lino back to 3rd as de Turk up a position, but this has helped Andy T, who's up to 1.3 seconds ahead and already close to finishing the first lap.
It does go very quickly by these laps, and they'll start racking them up very, very quickly. And it is going to be difficult to see from this early stage who will come out on top, because with these kinds of cars it is going to be a bit of a challenge to see who will get ahead of each other in what corner. It's sort of a play by ear at this race, but I'm imagining Andy T is very happy with himself. Look at his gap.
Yeah, a whole second and a half already as they come to Remus for the second time. That was Mascara, by the way, who had his accident on the first lap into Lauda. I don't think there was contact, but he did spin off into the paved runoff. Otherwise, we have a pretty decent start here for most of our drivers as we watch the leaders come down to Rauch once again. In fact, I think our first real battle, Banker just managed to get by Morin in the back of the field. We ride on board with Trangarade, who sits in the 8th position. In fact, I think he lost 2 spots since the start already.
Yeah, he's currently being in a he's in between a rock and a hard place right now, because he's got cars behind him, he's got cars in front of him, he's got dirty air to follow. You know, these cars, you know, they're not too bad when it comes to having to generate dirty air for the car behind them to follow. But it is still going to affect them. It's still going to slide around a lot more than what they're used to on cleaner air. And especially with these tight, sort of boxy corners, they're very sharp. They're very sharp apexes. So it is going to be a bit difficult for them to have the optimal line when following another car. We're just looking at the car of Mikko Leino as he looks behind, or looks forward towards the car number 5. You can see how much distance, there's very little. There's very little distance between the two of them as they come through Remus. It's practically nothing.
And there was an attempt from Partanen trying to overtake Freesia, but that didn't work. You can see them side by side back there. I think Freesia is going to be able to come away with that one. As same thing with the Turk and Lino. Yeah, down into Rauk. Oh, maybe a little wide there for Gernot. He is under serious pressure. Partanen gets checked up. And this brings a train of cars up to the back of them. Williams, Trangarade, Garcia are now in tow.
It's going to be difficult for Freach to get moving, as you can see on board with Hove on the car number 7. He is looking at the target that is ahead of him. There's 3 of them as he wants to get back to where he feels like he needs to be to make some moves. Paul Williams obviously not wanting to have that happen. He stuck to this position and he made it. He wants to keep it there. And you can just see how much Ove is actually drifting out. He's actually using quite a lot of the escape route, sort of, the bankment on the outside of the curb to make a move or to keep his position. And again, it's quite interesting to see how the different sort of strategies are being played out. A lot of cars are actually keeping very nice and neat to the track. 1 or 2 cars are giving themselves a little bit more room.
And again, they need to be concerned about those off tracks. The good news is it should be a little bit easier, especially in these open wheelers, since there's a number of places at this one where iRacing has deemed it according to 4 wheels off the track instead of the center of the car, as we plunge down once again into the downhill braking of Rauk and accelerating away. And it seems that Freesia is doing a good job soaking up this pressure, because nobody's been able to get by yet, despite an attempt from Partanen a lap ago. In fact, we briefly were watching Williams having to rebuff Trangrade as well. Up towards Rint now, and they've spread apart a bit.
This is going to be good for Freach because he has clean air ahead of him. It's going to be bad for everybody else because they'll have to follow in his dirty air. He can dictate the rules now and make sure that he can keep it where he needs to. But he's not getting closer to this man, Mikko Leino, as Andy T keeps putting in fast lap after fast lap. 0.3 of a second faster he was over the Turk. And that is going to put him in good stead for the rest of this race, because he now has plenty of space behind him to work with. He can just focus on his own race. He doesn't need to worry about anybody else around him. The Turk, well, he's got the car number 6 behind him, and then a lot of these cars if he messes up really, really badly. Ove is going to try and he's trying to get past the likes of Williams, the car number 12 of Pauly, and his ultimate goal is to get to Freach. But it's really starting to, I think it's starting to eat into his sort of psyche, and he's like, I need to get past. He needs to keep it calm. There's 29 more laps to go.
Trangrade getting very close to the gearbox of the number 11 as we ride on board with him now, looking over his helmet. Not many good places to pass here at the end of the lap. 2 swift right-handers in the form of Rint, and then into A1. They're using plenty of the track up. Oh, and a big bobble from that Honda liveried machine sends him backwards.
Yep, and it's not going to pay him dividends if he keeps on doing that, because the Red Bull Ring, it can punish you. Those sausage curves for these kinds of cars, they will do sheer amounts of damage. I mean, we've seen how on the modern F1 cars, they can do plenty and plenty of damage up to the barrage boards, especially with these cars. Yeah, it's not even.
They're meant to be on the ground too, with the under tray. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's say, for instance, if you get a scratch under there, oh no, you're going to be feeling that all the way home.
It'll take away a good chunk of the downforce, no doubt. And this battle has not gone away. De Turk has Lino right behind him. Just stays glued to those rear wheels, and the 6 wants that front row spot back. But so far, nothing doing. The blue number 6 just kind of waiting for the right opportunity. And can he elicit a mistake out of De Turk? Now, De Turk, again, championship-wise, this is important for Michael to try and get as good a results as he can. And since he doesn't seem to have the pace on T-Rob, he doesn't really want to give this away, even though he's not directly fighting Miko in the hunt here.
And I think he's got a, he's got a good plan for doing it. He's just keeping to his own line. He isn't worried too much about what Lino's trying to do behind him. And he should be defending his position. I mean, at the end of the day, a position is his position. And I think De Turk will definitely want to keep it, especially if he feels like he deserves it. Unfortunately, not getting up to Andy T is, it's unfortunate, but if he's faster than you anyway, just hold your position, keep fighting the guy behind.
We had a pass for the 7th spot. Trangrade in an unlikely spot into the first corner, managed to get by Williams. So this was probably about 30 to 40 seconds ago that we saw this one. Very rare that you see, especially around the outside like you're going to see here. I think he just gets a good run along the front stretch. Yeah, this is looking, Rob, like he just gets a great exit compared to Williams.
Yeah, and around the outside as well. I think what Williams wanted to do was he wanted to defend on around the inside coming up into the first corner. But I think he sort of just said at the last minute, it might not be the most possible thing in the world. Let's just sit behind Dove. He'll get that back in another lap or so.
Wow, worked hard for that one. So Trangrade now sets his sights on Partanen next, where he began this race in 6th position. We hop on board with Pauli, who himself has been chasing down Freesia. So now he's got to watch in his mirrors and up through the windscreen.
Yeah, and that Ove has been released sort of, he's got his next target in his sights. Car number 12 is going to be quaking in his boots. Or he's going to have a plan. But whichever situation, I think Ove still has his work cut out for him. He's still not out of the woods. He has both front and behind to worry about.
It was looked very quick through Remus. He got right up behind Partanen as they break down into route. This time he's not going to be close enough to attack, but we've already seen he's able to get creative on where and how he can overtake. Can he pull something on Pauli that'll catch him by surprise, or will he be able to do it on sheer pace and just overwhelm him? They're going to swing it through Vert, one of the corners I'm sure this car likes, with the swift left-hand fast corners. Is this a battle for position here with West? Looks like with Mascara.
Yeah, Barry having a little bit of a wobble coming through Schlossgold, and he is unfortunately forced to give up the position to Javier Mascara. And just, it is going to be difficult throughout the entire grid. It's not just the guys battling each other are going to have issues. Oh, crikey, that is going to be a massive slide from Pauli coming through turn 1. The car almost going sideways coming through that first turn.
Surprised he didn't lose more time to Trangrade behind him. They've been clearly striking the curbs. We see this at a lot of tracks in this car where the wing just starts to get a little bit bent out of shape.
Yeah, and continuing to do that, it will affect you most definitely. The Lotus 79 is always talked about as the ground effect car, because it really was the pioneering of ground effect in the motorsport. But it still generates a lot of downforce using those wings. So, ooh, you can just see how much Ove is having to slide through that turn. That's going to be a route she's sliding through.
I can tell you from experience, watching Ove in pretty much every vintage car he drives, he loves it to be sideways. Something about that Norwegian blood wants to treat it like a rally car. And he's going to come down into Rent. See if he can once again set up his rival. It's looking good. He'll get the slipstream. Partanen sort of half-heartedly defends just a little bit off the racing line. Trangrade coming up, but he runs out of straight.
He just needs to he just needs to put himself in a position where Ove has to make the move explicitly. He has to be like, okay, Ove, you come on through, but it's not going to be easy for you. You're going to have to make it around the outside, inside. And that's how he needs to be.
Partonen on screen. He's having a go at Frisha, managing to tack around the outside. But unfortunately, it looks like he did not get a good enough exit. He's going to switch sides, try to send it up the inside, down through Rauk. Now he's got to finish the job. Doesn't feed him out wide, and this keeps Frisha in the hunt. He's going to have the slightest bit of overlap. Wheels almost touching the grass, and the shallow line down into Power Horse will not give him the opportunity. So the one falls back into sixth.
Yeah, Pauli, very well executed move. He just bided his time and used the opening that he had, but he needs to not use the gravel traps. They'll slow him down. And Ove, unfortunately, coming out the worst of the three there. He had an opening. He actually had an opening, but he just didn't follow Pauli through. He decided to try and make a 3 wide coming through Rauch, and it just didn't work out for him. He was caught on the outside.
Looks very close once again. It seems like A1, that final corner is really strong for Trangrade, and even stronger through Lauda as Frisha goes all the way down to the right-hand side of the track, covering him off, and Trangrade's going to decide to lift because of that. Had a little bit of a spin in the back, don't need to go to it, but Keith Herner, unfortunately, finding himself off to the side. He gets it going once again, thankfully. But man, there has been some good battles here for the 5th, 6th, and 7th places.
Not stop. It's just been, as soon as the race started, it's just been, all right, we'll have one epic battle from between all of us, and it's just been new players coming in, coming out, and it's always been around, as he said, the fulcrum of 5th, 6th, and 7th. As we do see, though, it is never ending, and I imagine it's going to bring in the likes of Paul Williams, Tony Garcia. These two guys are sitting there, they're in the background. They see the cars up ahead of them. If they just stop fighting between themselves, they might just get him back in a lap or two, make it a 5-way battle once again, and that is going to put one Ove Tangerade into real trouble.
Another spin, self-spin for Nicholas Morelli in the 20 car. He didn't hit anything, is able to get it back on the track. It is now in 18th as we continue to watch Frisha in that Renault just ahead of the Honda of Ove Trangrade. Honda may have gotten a lot of real-world wins here recently, and not thinking we're going to see the Norwegian repeat that here. Oh, he is very strong off the corner. This is a good shot here, Rob.
Exactly. Around the outside, he's already made one move coming into the first turn. Can he try and make it happen again? No. Being blocked off by Gernot Fritsch coming through Schlossgold. Can he make any move coming into Roach? No, has to sit on wingman duty behind Gernot Fritsch and wait for the opportunity to strike. He is very close, though.
Now, if Gernot winds up finishing in the 6th spot, he is 14 points to the negative to the Turk. That's assuming neither of them take the fastest lap here today. Based on Andy T's performance, I think it's safe to say he's going to sweep that and get a perfect score. In fact, there you see another fastest lap for him just now, as if on cue. So, yeah, 14-point gain on the cards for the Turk, which is not going to be a whole lot, but at least a good haul.
It's going to put him in good stead coming into the final 3 rounds. It is going to be go mode once that happens. You know, today it's just basically the Turk trying to make sure that he is in second. Andy is just flying out there. Like, it's like Concorde versus Boeing. Concorde is just flying there, and Boeing is just second and third. But at the very same time, the Turk is putting a absolute great move on every single attack that Lyro gives to him. Around especially the inside of the track at Rauch and at Ruth, he is making very clean defenses.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything untoward quite yet. As we hop back once again on board Trangrade, still chasing Frisha. that since they passed the likes of Williams, he hasn't seemed to be able to keep hold of them as tightly, and is just kind of hanging back there. But they also aren't very much on top of Partonen in that 5th spot. Not sure if that's Freesia just having to play defense or if he's really lacking pace. And Trangrade, once again, is incredible coming off that final turn. Going to be forced around the outside, but this time he breaks early. Can't quite repeat the move.
No, it's going to be Freesia's mirrors that are going to give him in good stead because he saw the move coming from Ove, and he saw that maybe just covering off that line might just help, because getting forced on the inside of that particular corner, it is going to prove difficult to overcome because your exit is exceptionally compromised and the speed loss is immense, especially when, you know, given to the fact that that is essentially slipstream heaven coming up from 2 to 3.
Certainly is. It's offered some good chances for passes, but we've seen few been able to finish that one there. This time down into the infield portion of the circuit. Partonen losing that gap to Freesia. He's put his foot down. Not sure if he's listening to the broadcast, but whatever has spurred him on, he is now within 0.3 of a second of that number 12.
He is absolutely gunning it now, and you look at this exactly. He sees the opportunity happening, and the Turk is having to defend on the inside. He's rejoining the racing line as late as he possibly can. Lino is going to try and make the move, I think, coming up into 2. Remus right ahead of them. The slipstream battle is ongoing.
Looks like he didn't get as good of an exit, though. The Turk continues to hold that inside line. Good on the braking. Miko tries to cut underneath, but wheel spin is going to deny him.
And just so unfortunate for him, because he just had it, but unfortunately just getting pushed to that outside due to the Turk being there, being so good on the defense, so very, very good on the defense. It just pushes Nino out by 0.5, and he'll get that back, of course, but it is going to have to take another few laps for him to set up and really try and go at it again. And we can see here, battle for 5th still just, it hasn't stopped. It's still ongoing.
It's starting to split up a little bit into 2 groups, though. It looks like Williams and Garcia going to have a thing going, and then you've got Trangrade, Freesia, and Partonen, a little trio in front of them. We're not even halfway through this race as well. There's still plenty to go here today. And down through the final corner, very wide for Partonen, yeah.
Yeah, that is not going to put him in good stead, because if he makes more mistakes like that, there'll come a time where the car refuses to cooperate and he'll have a slide, and it'll actually, if he continues doing the little wobbles that he has right now, it'll bring back Freach back where he needs to make an attack. As we can see here, that's Ove still looking on the inside. He's still trying to make a move, but he's still stuck.
Certainly looks to be that way, and Ove Trangrade didn't get the greatest of exit off of Remus. Here comes Freesia, maybe on the attack. He's going to show his nose. He wants out of this situation. He saw an opportunity, couldn't capitalize, but clearly it's not just defense on the minds of that number 1 car. He is trying to make inroads forwards.
Yeah, they're all going to be. It is going to be the car number 12's race to lose if he does make another mistake. And you can just see how much the car is sort of drifting. The back end is drifting out quite a lot on the car number 12. And Partonen is going to have to concentrate. It is just coming up to halfway now. But if he does make... Oh, look how wide he's drifting.
I'm very curious to know how many incident points they've racked up, especially in that corner specifically. I believe, if I check my cheat sheet here, that they do have a bit of space. Yeah, so they can, as long as they have 2 wheels on those little white rumble strips at the edge of the green AstroTurf, that they are still counted within bounds on that final turn. So that's why we're seeing them able to go so wide. Look at 3 different lines for 3 different cars up through Remus. Who is it going to work best for?
It's going to work better, I think. It's going to be Ove. He has the opportunity now. He's looking on the inside, coming up towards Dust Gold. He is not there, though. He just isn't side by side with Prix. He needs to push that extra little nose out, just extra little bit. He just backed down. I don't think he was confident enough. It's not time just yet.
Even still, he's making him think about it. And it's awesome to see these two Titans go at it. Two regulars of the series for a long time. Partonen as well has been involved for a number of seasons, although not as frequently present, and especially not as present here up at the front of the field. But he's making good on it today as we come out of the final corner. All of them within bounds and snaking down the front stretch, trying to steal some of that slipstream.
And with the slipstream comes great responsibility. You do have to make the move nice and clean, and it is going to be an absolute swarm right now because Prix is under direct threat from Ove. Ove is right there. Ooh, a little defensive move. You just saw it there from Prix. Just puts the car just a smidgen towards the middle of the road to try and make sure that Ove has to commit fully, rather than sort of commit halfway and sneak his nose in that is going to be a lunge. Potentially, no.
He actually got his front wing alongside the rear wheels of Partonen briefly under braking, but he's getting closer and closer. It almost feels like this is Gernot just kind of poking and prodding and feeling out some research on what's possible.
And that is good research, but it is going to alert the guy that you're trying to battle what you're trying to do. It's more like showing your cards, they have to be absolutely perfect for you to have a good move. And you can just see here, Michelino, he's looking, crikey, almost touching the rear end.
I thought for sure they were going to touch there, but Mikko keeps it safe. Michael keeps that second place, and they'll stay in position. They're a full 6.5 seconds behind our leader, Andy T. We haven't shown a whole lot just because he's not had much going on. Meanwhile, plenty's been going on here between Trangerade, Freesia, and Partonen, and it is going to be either a defense or attack. Take your pick which. Maybe both for Gernot, and both, one is successful, the defense, because Trangerade, unfortunately, looks like he wobbled a little off that corner. Here we go again, down into Rauk, and as deep as he goes on the brakes, Freesia can't get it done. Partonen just keeps holding him at bay.
I think they're seeing the move open up, and then they're seeing the corner open up and close up on their move. So it's a give and take, this kind of. Oh, crikey, that is going to be Michelino having a little bit of a wobble in a very odd place, actually, on the exit of Worth, coming up towards Rident, that he had that little wobble. And Turk, he senses Lino is trying to make a move. He's using all of the track, and he can use all of the track. He's putting up a great defense, but does it occur to him that Lino's probably trying to sell him a dummy? Maybe he'll try and make the move coming up to here. Maybe he'll try and make the move around Rouch. It is still possible.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think that was a mistake that he had out of Vert into Rent. I think that was because we saw the Turk go defensive. He felt Mikko was too close behind, so Mikko was right in his slipstream, and they eventually kind of drifted back to the racing line as he tries to enter shallow, but the door gets shut on that blue number 6. Let's see if he can once again stay close enough that he could threaten him up to Rent. I've seen passes into there, but it's so rare. Oh, he starts to get sideways, and that has cost him enough that, yeah, he's not going to be nearly close enough.
Temperature is playing a little bit of havoc on these tires. It's not the tire wear that we're worried about, but it's a tire temperature that can still get quite hot, these tires. And it is going to start having these cars slide around just an ever so slightly. And with the fact that they generate not nearly as much downforce as the modern brethren of the Formula 1 cars of today. And oh, crikey! Tangerade, very, very wide, coming out onto the start finish straight.
Yeah, he's trying to get as good of a run as he can. I think maybe he's abusing those track limits a bit just to see if he can get better speed to try and make the pass stick. He is right on top of him. Will Gernot go defensive? Yes, he does. Just showing that if you're going to pass me, you have to go way far to the inside to make that happen. Great exit, though, from Prix as well. And now it's going to be Partonen that has to play defense, but he has yet to actually play defense. This time he's fully alongside. Once again, braking a little bit earlier. He keeps the car tidy, and now he gets great acceleration. Gernot Prix has been working on this lap after lap. Does he finally have it done? No! Back to his inside. Here comes Partonen, but he slips up. They manage to keep from touching one another, but the battle continues into Vert as they go wheel to wheel around the outside. Brilliant move for Prix.
Partonen almost making it all go wrong around Reg, touching the grass on the inside. He almost lost the rear end of the car. Masterful execution by him to keep it even straight, but he's lost the position. But does he make the comeback on Prix coming down towards the first turn? Does it happen? I don't think so, unless it's going to be around the outside. He is so very close. Oh, almost using all of the track and then some to try and get some distance between himself and Prix. It doesn't work though. And Ove Tangard is coming back.
Yeah, he saw that little wag from the tail of Partonen, and he's licking his chops. He sizes him up and then comes back to the racing line. Williams as well, going down to the inside. All this fighting has brought this group back together, so that it is now 5 once again. Prix pulling away. He's loving this fighting behind him. Partonen, though, seems to be so much better getting on the brakes down into that corner.
Partonen needs to... He's got 12 laps in his hand to make a move. Over around Rouch. Thought he could sneak in a move just there, just when Partonen wasn't expecting it, but just wasn't side by side enough. And it's going to be very, very curious. I'm going to be very curious to see if Rouch becomes the move of the race, where one of these guys will just have an absolute screamer on the inside. But it is going to be interesting to see how that forms back again with Lino. It is still very, very close between himself and the Turk. Not many moves made. I think Lino is just trying to hold station right now. He's just trying to hold behind the Turk and make the move probably within the next 2 to 3 laps would be my guess.
He's certainly been looking at the very least. It's just hard, it seems, for him to actually get side by side with that Williams car. And you can see he's able to gain ground under braking, much like we saw with Partonen into that corner. As the two of them continue racing. By the way, we still have 12 laps to go in this race. So there is still plenty that could happen as this continues. Oh, behind Partonen, we got a battle with Garcia and Williams side by side. They're going to come through Vert similarly.
Through Vert, and oh, crikey, Paul Williams having to let go of a position there. He just didn't have a nice exit, but he comes back through.
Oh, just eases him off the course, but he makes the pass. It was elbows out, but Williams was not going to be denied and outbraked him into a corner. I think he barely used your brakes in.
I would have said that was very, very concerning. Oh, that was so very close, but at least the two of them gave themselves each other some room. But not out of the woods yet, and that is going to be side-by-side action. Partonen trying to get past Prix around the outside.
Could he actually make this pass? If he gets the grip, it could be done. No, it's a drag race up and over the hill. A dead heat between the pair of them. But Partonen is going to be on the outside. Prix to the inside. He made this one work before. Continues to have to brake so much earlier. And unfortunately, he slips up. Here comes Partonen with the nose ahead and the inside. Down into the next left-hander as they come into the corner. Can he get the job done? Yes, he's got it now.
Rouch used very effectively the sweeping left-hander coming into the technical section. Very well done by Partonen. to put Prix back into 6th. Car number 1 having to really start hunkering down and start thinking, because 5th position is no longer guaranteed for him. It is going to be on to concentrate with the likes of Parton around, just making sure that his day is not comfy whatsoever. He's going to have to earn that P5.
Clearly, these three are very evenly matched today. Doesn't seem any one of them is able to drop the other as the race has continued. Andy T, by the way, is actually starting to hit some of our lap traffic bit by bit, but is thin now, so he doesn't have to be too concerned. He's still got an 8.5 second lead over de Turk.
And I'm just curious as well, what if that group of 5, with a group of 3 plus 2, what if they hit lap traffic? Will that bring an extra dynamic? I'm not sure.
Oh, they actually just nearly made contact between them. Parton had Freesia up his tailpipe there. Thankfully, didn't actually touch. But yeah, that's a good point. They've got, well, Barry West is coming through Rint and A1 right now, and these guys coming through Vert. So yeah, they might lap him before this is over, but it's a couple laps away still, I think.
And just to come back to, by the way, to Parton. Parton is actually, now that he's got cleaner areas, he's looking a bit more comfortable, you know. The car that I'm actually concerned with right now, oh crikey, that's Tony Garcia making a move on Paul Williams to take back that P8.
Side by side coming up into the first corner. Williams looking to get it done, but he's going to be shallow into the entry, and compromised exit means Garcia says thank you, I'll take that right back, as he slides up the inside and plays defensive into Remus, but he's not quick in a straight line. Look at how quickly he's coming back at him, and Williams breaking deep around the long way around of Remus, trying to find the traction up the hill. It's not quite there.
Getting into the 119s now. Andy T, 119.825 on that last lap. Oh, and just to say, back at it again between Williams and Garcia coming through.
And eventually it looks like Garcia has this one done. Great battling there by the number 8 machine, coming up from 10th spot. We switch now up to 2nd place. Miko, last time I saw him through this corner, he really got loose and went wide. This time a lot more tidy, but also not that close to de Turk up towards the first corner.
Well, he has to take care of his tires. Every single driver here has to take care of their tires. I mean, the track temperature hasn't gone away. It hasn't evaporated like water is. It is still very much omnipresent. 107 Fahrenheit with very little wind to carry it. That track temperature sticks like glue, 42 degrees Celsius. They're going to have to take care of these tires, because what will happen is they'll get too much temperature in the tires, and they won't be able to bleed it away, because the car will just keep sliding around, and they'll have a very difficult time trying to get rid of it.
Well, Trangrade's been doing lots of sliding. Actually, honestly, all 3 of these cars have been sliding a fair bit throughout this race. I don't think you can really single out one person. And I can't tell if that's a defensive line or if that was intended as an attack. But Freesia, I don't know what's wrong with the car into that corner. He just can't seem to keep them behind. And Garcia is struggling as well with Williams, who seems to have the car trimmed out. And looks like he'll have to back out of it now that they hit the infield.
I really am concerned about Freesia's car and Ove's car, because Ove, we've had plenty of situations where the car has slid into almost oblivion, really, because the car will wobble, and it will wobble as if it's about to snap oversteer. They correct at the last minute, but if the tires are too hot, they'll lose the car completely.
Lino getting within 0.2 of a second once again of de Turk. He's going to show his nose, but de Turk takes it down to the apex and shuts the door. Gets a very good exit as well. The 6 is going to be well too far back for anything here. Now in the background, every time we go to them, I keep seeing Seppa's there, but he's never been much closer than the 1.5 second gap that there you see on screen.
He's only gained or lost a tenth each time. He's 1.5 seconds behind Michelino, his fellow Finn. But he's been matching lap times, is not gaining time on him. And I think he's probably settled into a nice little air bubble. I think he would much rather have that than have to deal with the likes of Parton, you know, catching up to him and pushing his tires into the abyss, because these two guys have just been going at it since the start of this race. I'm waiting for one of them to blink, though, because I really do feel at some stage one of the tires will start giving way. One of the pairs of tires, anyway.
Either that or the car itself is going to give way, and we'll see them off into the runoff. Ooh, that wasn't the greatest of exits for Frecia, but I think he was saved by the bell, because Trangrade also, with a poor run, is not close enough. And this is, I almost wonder how early we're seeing Frecia have to brake in some corners. Last week, he put too much wing in it at Silverstone, and he admitted so. I wonder if he's gone the reverse route and maybe put too little wing in the car.
Could possibly be it. These cars aren't the easiest to get set up for particular conditions. I would have said they would have been very good for good baselines, but to just get that extra little hair, you really need to be in tune with it. But with this track being such a new experience for these drivers, I'm pretty sure they're learning as they go. And yeah, a lot of them have gotten very good setups, but that extra little bit really goes a long way.
Yeah, certainly. Frecia's one of those who has shared his setup quite often over the years. In fact, has made setup packs for some seasons for drivers, so that they feel like they've got the best opportunity to hit the ground running. They're all running as hard as they can right now with 5 laps to go. And though they have swapped positions a number of times, it's been frozen in these spots for a good almost 10 laps now. Partonen ahead of Frecia, ahead of Trangarade. They've definitely dropped Garcia and Williams. They're now a whole 6 seconds behind them. So it's become a 3-car fight. And here we go, down to the inside. Gernot thinks about it and then can't really execute.
Prix has the danger, though. The danger zone is behind them above a Tangerud. Look at the gap has widened now since they exited turn 2, but look at it. That is Freach looking on the inside, coming up towards. Oh, is he going to make the move? He is side by side, though.
He's got a nose ahead. Now into the infield and fighting right back. That is Partonen, who doesn't want to give up easily. We've seen this move before around the long way at Vert. Almost pinches him down, but gives him just enough space at the racing line. Frecia once again through. Now a defensive move from Partonen as Trangrade just ducks to the inside briefly, then comes back to the racing line. 4 to go as they cross the line, and the race is on as it's another good exit for Partonen.
Yeah, Partonen has all of the width in the world to be able to use it. He doesn't make the move coming up into turn 1. He'll have the slipstream into 2 if he gets this corner exit just right. It is going to be Freach's race to lose if he manages to slip up here. The slipstream is only going to add about 2 to 3 kilometers an hour extra at the end of the straight. Just not there. But he doesn't make the move. That is a mistake. Front Freach went too wide and
Yeah, but remember, Frecia knows he's been braking so much earlier than Partonen down into here. Let's see if he makes the pass, and I think De Turk just got overtaken as well. Since that one's safe, let's look at that. And yes, that is Miko is through.
I wasn't expecting my prediction to be close, but he did a very good move. I think it was about 30 to 40 seconds ago where it happened, and we can just see here.
Yeah, it'll happen on the braking in the downhill into Rauk. So yeah, coming up to Remus. Yeah, watch
it'll
this.
Be the setup here. Yeah, it'll be the setup coming into Remus that will be key.
I've seen a lot of drivers do this, try to get their opponent offline, but he doesn't get him offline. Maybe it's on corner exit, I wonder. He's not all that close. He's trying to pull off to the inside. He's showing his nose in the mirrors. De Turk seems unfazed. He's not defending. He's way wide. Did that unsettle the car?
Oh, it did.
Just touched the gravel on the exit, and Miko That's all he needed. That was the one mistake that he saw Michael make this whole race, and that was it. But is he going to lose it immediately? The very next lap back around into the downhill corner, braking hard through there, just feeds him onto the curbs, and De Turk is not going to be able to get it back. He's only got a few more chances to do it, though. We've got 3 laps to go.
And it's critical right now that De Turk takes back the lead and seals the deal, or cracks into the P2 and seals the deal. And it is going to be very difficult because now that Lino has his P2, he is going to defend it tooth and nail. Obviously going to do it very cleanly because he absolutely did a very good job. And we just had an accident between Garcia and Williams. The two of them are off.
Oh, it finally came to tears. I've been impressed with the fair racing today, and I think this is actually a bit of netcode between them. They got close, and the internet decided that was too close, and they tangled. So both are able to get going, thankfully. I think they lost a spot to Timothy Reed in the process. We're now watching Seppa. Wow, after De Turk got past, Severi gained a lot. He is within 0.4 of a second. It has become a 3-car fight to decide the end of the podium.
Seppa racing very cleanly and to himself. He was actually 0.5 of a second lap faster than the two of 6 and 5. And it is, oh crikey, De Turk is wobbling around very harshly, unless he's just trying to, he was trying to see on the inside very quickly and then dive back in, but that was a very big wobble from his car.
And I just want to give an update. Garcia is limping. He's just trying to get this car home. He gave the position back initially because I heard him apologize over the radio, but I think there maybe is more to it for poor Tony as we watch on board with Partanen. He wants that top 5 back. Frisha wants as many points as possible. It's been a swing for him after De Turk got past, and oh, a bad exit out of Vert, as now we might go side by side into Rent, the Norwegian, around the outside of the fin. Partanen holds the inside, doesn't force him out, and Trangrade around the outside of one of the fastest corners on the track.
Very well done by Ove. Another outside move by him, very cleanly executed. And it is going to be his race to try and claw back. You can see Fritsch ahead of him. The original target is back.
De Turk. This is De Turk fighting up the inside. Or around the outside, maybe. Lino has been passed, and De Turk has got it right back. He does not want to give up those points. We might get another battle down into Rauk. Yes, look at how late he's braking as Miko is going to fight him tooth and nail, almost pushing him off the track. I'm not sure how long we'll be able to watch this. We got a couple more corners before we have to cut away, and Miko's going to take it back.
Oh, very close indeed. And this is going to be Andy T coming up towards the final 2 corners. My breath is running out because the 2 of them are still fighting behind, but he's going to take the checker flag. P1 for Andy T. Very well done. Masterclass racing.
Victory for Andy T today, and Lino is now going to go around the outside of De Turk in the same corner once again as Seppa tries to see if he can stick it in, but no, not going to happen. Miko is going to take the victory, swapping position, or the second place rather, swapping positions twice on the last lap.
Around the outside was just, oh crikey, that's on the grass, side by side action coming up towards the line. Who's going to take it between Ove and Tangrad? Oh, that was so close.
Trangarade got it over Partanen by 0.5 of a second. Frisha will finish in 5th. De Turk down to 3rd. So it's much less of a loss. That'll be 46 points for De Turk, and Frisha at 39. So a 7-point loss is much better than 14. In fact, half of what it would have been before. Practically sipping his namesake up at the front. Andy T takes the win. Now we are going to head to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll try and keep this on screen during that because I believe Andy T's got some special fun planned, but we'll be back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Well, it seems as we come back to the Red Bull Ring that Andy T showed up as he predicted, with a lot of talent in hand and a lot of speed, that he took the victory decisively by 14 seconds over Miko. Now, that was an incredible battle all the way down to the last few corners where the Finn was able to overtake De Turk and deny him better points. But Michael still managed a podium. I'm sure he would have liked more to try and gain on his rival Gernot Friesche. Seppa was a bit of lonely fourth much of the day. He started to get involved at the end, but he maybe should have been a little bit closer, or else we could have seen him potentially on that podium as well. Friesche was a top 5 after starting in 5th, but the story is so much more than that, as he was back and forth all race long with multiple drivers. Trangrade with a 6th place at the line over poor Partanen. He defended his heart out, and he even attacked his heart out, but it just wasn't meant to be. Reed was 8th behind him, as Paul Williams did apologize with Tony Garcia as well. Both of them just very apologetic about the incident. He finished 9th, and Suarez was 10th.
In 11th is going to be Loic Barb, 12th Sebastian Morin, and the fan favorite coming home in 13th is Carl Townsend. I can hear the cheers already. Daniel Banker in 14th, Javier Mascara in 15th. Tony Garcia, after the accident, very unfortunate for him. He, as we mentioned before, apologetic to the very end, but unfortunately had to come home in 16th. Nicholas Morelli in 17th, Keith Herner 18th, Barry West in 19th, and the only retirement today of Robert Plumley, who retired 28 laps ago.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us. Andy T is Andy once again showing up and proving to everybody how to be quick around this track. Andy, it seems like this is another one of your favorites. It's a new one. Would you say it's quick to the top of the list for you?
Easily my favorite track on the service right now. I drove a bunch of this last week in the McLaren GT3. Oh, buddy, it's so good.
It looks like so much fun out there, certainly. But you didn't have anybody to race the whole time. You basically were kind of out on your own. How do you keep focused in that situation?
Usually, I wouldn't race with my Delta on. But if I'm just on my own, I turn my Delta on just to have something to focus on, just make sure I'm keeping the laps consistent. This race in particular, I was looking at my relative to see the battle for P2, because it seemed to be like 2/10 the entire race. And I'm gutted for Michael. He seems to finish P3.
Though we've got a very motley crew of track selection for the remaining rounds: Nürburgring, Detroit, and that is the ring, Nordschleife, Olten Park, and Suzuka. So which of those do you think we're going to see you again, or will we see you for a third time?
You absolutely will not see me for the next 2 weeks because I respect myself too much to race those tracks. I might show up for Olten and Suzuka, but it depends what else is going on. But for sure, this car is just so much fun that I can't stay away.
Well, we like seeing you back, but I'm not sure the other drivers do. Congratulations. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
All the usual suspects, Raccoon Racing Boys, love you guys. Oddly, I want to shout out Kevin Ellis Jr. from Apex Racing because he gave me some coaching in the McLaren GT3, and that really helped me find some time. So, yeah, if you're not subscribed to Apex Racing, do it. It's great.
Great stuff there from Andy T. And next up, Robert has caught up with Michael DeTurk, who just couldn't cling to that second place.
Michael, an absolute great race by you, but at the very last moment, second place taken away from you. But a very respectable P3. How are you feeling in that car?
Good. I qualified third, so finishing third doesn't bother me. It was a really intense race. I had 3 Finns behind me for most of it, and I felt like I was playing in a sauna. So.
and just the sheer amount of having to defend from them. Actually, do talk me through that as well, because the 2 Finns that were behind you, especially Piccolino, he really, especially at the final 2 corners, he really did put the pressure on you. When did it start becoming, oh, I really do need to defend now kind of moment?
Lap 1. I knew that he was fast through, call it the end of Sector 2 through Sector 3. And during the warm-up race before this, we were really, really close for most of the race. So he is new to Lotus, I think, this season. He's extremely fast. I knew it was going to be a challenge the whole race, especially with Seppa behind him and Paulie behind him. It was one mistake, and it could have been 3 or 4 spots. I'm lucky that the one mistake that I made, the one big mistake that I made, was only a single position. So, and then I still had a chance to challenge for it with that insane last lap the 2 of us had.
Yeah, and were you expecting, did you sort of think in your head, sort of plan Bs, plan Cs, if it did come down to it, that you had to lose a position and go back fighting, or were you just taking it lap by lap and just focusing on getting them laps in?
I figured the last 2 laps he was probably going to try down into what they call turn 3. I think it's really turn 2, the tight right-hander that's almost a hairpin up the hill. I figured that was going to be the spot. He had poked the nose there a couple of times. Trying into 9 or 10 at the end of the lap, he had a run on me, but it would have been messy. And so I figured that was where it was going to be. And if it was on the second to last lap, then I would just wait and try to draft back past him and pass him in the same place, which is almost what I did. He had the measure of me in Sector 2 and 3, and fair play to him, just an outstanding race.
Oh, well, fair play to you. You put on an absolutely great defense. Do you have any shout-outs or anyone that you'd like to thank?
You guys for doing the broadcast, and the usual, just the great Lotus community we have. Lots of really fast guys that race really close and really fair, and I think we have a pretty good time every week. So.
And a pleasure, as always, Michael. A great race by you, and hope to see you again next week.
Thanks. Have a nice weekend.
Up next, I believe we have 9th place finisher Paul Williams with us. And Paul, you had some great racing going on with Tony Garcia, but unfortunately it looks like it may have soured at the end. Oh, we're not hearing you, Paul. We'll see if we can get that mic working here in a second as we try to get him all mic'd up and whatnot, but was fighting for what was, I believe, 7th position much of the race. Let's try one more time. Paul, do we got a copy? Oh, we are still not hearing Paul, so I'm not sure.
You got me?
There we go. Now we gotcha.
Yeah, it was some great racing up until that point where I made that mistake, really. Yeah, it was just so much fun. Race started well up there with Gernot and Ove and stuff. Then I think Tony had opposite setup to me. Had some great racing, but I'm just so disappointed it ended like that. I'd rather him finish ahead if he didn't have damage and could have sort of made it back, or gave him the position. But it didn't look like there was too much in it on my side. There was a bit of a space there between us, but looks like it was a bit of netcode. But I should have just stayed to the opposite side of the track, to be honest, and just gave him all the room on the right hand side, because it's just easier that way. I think in the heat of the battle, sort of pushed the netcode too much.
Sometimes that can happen, I'm sure. This is a surprisingly racy track. We've seen drivers make moves or carry battles on through shockingly fast corners. What did you discover here today with this first season of the 79 visiting here?
Oh, sorry, hello.
There we go. Now we got you.
Sorry, I missed that. Did you follow up with the question? Sorry.
Yes, I did. I was saying how it's surprisingly racy at this track, and it's a good surprise. But what did you discover here that you weren't expecting? Was there any lines that you learned or stuff that you found out about this track?
I found out you have to use all of the track, so we're literally pushing every single off-track limit that there is, using a lot of the curb. So sort of down to turn 4, you use the curb on the left there, but there's a bump, so it's a bit dangerous. And obviously the last two corners, you're using all of it. Into turn 2, you're using all of it. So, but the good thing is, like you say, it promotes some good racing with different lines. You can race all the way from turn 2, and Tony made it work all around the outside of 5 and 6 as well, which was just unbelievable. His car, he just did a great job of hanging it around the outside there.
Well, it of course gave us a lot of fun to watch as well. Is there anybody you want to thank after today's probably not the best result, but at least a mid-pack finish?
Just thanks to you guys for covering. Andy's been giving me a little bit of help this week, which has been great. And as usual, the community as a whole is brilliant. But it's hard to be upbeat. I'm just so good about that finish.
That's understandable. So an unfortunate end for Paul Williams today, who finished 9th, but that is going to close us up. And we, of course, want to thank the Lotus 79 community ourselves for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. And thanks to the team today, Rob, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because next week there are other drivers that don't have respect for themselves. They go to the Nürburgring Nordschleife Sunday, August 15th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, but we love that they're willing to tackle it. We'll have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Up next later this evening, we go road racing NASCAR style. The PRL NASCAR Cup Series is at Watkins Glen at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.